The European colonization of the Americas unfolded as a transformative journey, reshaping the landscapes of North, Central, and South America, as well as the Caribbean islands. This period, spanning from 1492 to the early 20th century, marked the arrival of European settlers and the subsequent displacement and, often, eradication of indigenous cultures. The Norse Viking Leif Erikson set foot in North America around 980-1030, establishing a fleeting community in Newfoundland. However, this Norse venture was short-lived, and the true era of European colonization began with Christopher Columbus's voyages between 1492 and 1504. Columbus, sailing under the Spanish flag, inadvertently introduced the New World to European interests while seeking an alternative maritime route to Asia. His explorations laid the groundwork for Spanish colonists to settle in the Americas, leading to the Spanish conquest of Central and South America throughout the 16th century. Portugal staked its claim in modern-day Brazil in 1500 through Pedro Álvares Cabral, while parts of Canada were claimed by France after Giovanni de Verrazzano's exploration in 1524. The Dutch Republic established New Netherland in 1614, covering present-day Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and nearby areas. Sweden also entered the scene with New Sweden in part of modern-day Delaware by 1638. Despite attempts by nations like Russia, Germany, and Scotland to establish a foothold in the New World, success eluded them. The wealth amassed by Spain from its colonies motivated England to establish its presence. Early attempts, such as Popham and Roanoke Colony, faltered, but Jamestown in Virginia, founded in 1607, marked a triumph. Plymouth Colony followed in 1620 in Massachusetts, setting the stage for the establishment of European control in the Americas. The French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, reshaped the power dynamics, ultimately leading to English control of the entire eastern seaboard of the modern-day United States. This era of colonization initiated the Columbian Exchange, a term coined in 1972, referring to the cross-cultural exchange of animals, crops, diseases, technology, cultural values, and human populations between the Americas, West Africa, and Europe. Notably, the introduction of tobacco by indigenous people to colonists in North America sparked conflicts over land, deforestation, and, by around 1640, the institutionalization of slavery, a system already established by the Spanish in Central and South America through the encomienda system of forced labor. The history of the conquest and colonization of the Americas was initially chronicled by the victors, portraying their endeavors as noble pursuits of exploration, civilization, and the conversion of indigenous people to Christianity. In more recent times, efforts to challenge this narrative and acknowledge the cultural losses and human rights abuses of Native Americans and West Africans have emerged, but significant changes have yet to materialize. As the European quest for new routes to Asia unfolded, the closure of the Silk Road by the Ottoman Empire in 1453 fueled a desire for alternative passages. Christopher Columbus, sponsored by Ferdinand II and Isabella I of Spain, embarked on his historic journey in 1492. Although Columbus initially aimed to find a westward sea route to Asia, he instead stumbled upon the Bahamas, thinking he had reached islands near China. Despite subsequent voyages, Spain's interest shifted from a new Asian route to the colonization and exploitation of the New World. In 1500, Portuguese explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral claimed modern-day Brazil, enslaving the indigenous people and importing West African slaves due to their vulnerability to diseases. By 1540, the combined impact of Columbus and Cabral had led to the staggering loss of around 90% of the indigenous population. Meanwhile, Hernán Cortés became a pivotal figure in the Spanish conquest, toppling the Aztec Empire of Mexico from 1519 to 1521. His commander, Pedro de Alvarado, extended Spanish influence by subduing the Maya in 1523, completing a mission initiated by earlier conquistadors. The conquest resulted in the destruction or suppression of Yucatec and Quiche Maya cultures, with their sacred texts and icons obliterated. The relentless quest for gold extended Spanish claims across the Americas, including the conquest of the Inca in 1532 by Francisco Pizarro. The colonization process involved killing, enslaving, or displacing indigenous populations, establishing Spanish dominance from the southern United States to Central and South America. In the Northern Territories, French explorer Jacques Cartier founded New France in 1534, seeking a maritime passage to Asia. Unlike the Spanish, the French prioritized collaboration with indigenous people, engaging them in the fur trade for mutual benefit. The Dutch, driven by the quest for the Northwest Passage, claimed parts of Lower Canada and the Hudson River Valley in present-day New York. Henry Hudson's efforts for the Dutch East India Company in 1609 laid the foundation for colonies, with New Amsterdam, Manhattan, added in 1624. As England observed Spain's wealth from the New World, the cunning strategy of privateering emerged. State-sponsored pirates, like Sir Francis Drake, inflicted havoc on Spanish vessels, earning him the ominous moniker, the Dragon. Queen Elizabeth I, realizing the potential of American colonies, assigned Sir Walter Raleigh to claim unclaimed lands in the Americas. Raleigh's captains, Amadas and Barlow, embarked on the Amadas-Barlow expedition in 1584, returning with tales of a bountiful land they named Virginia in honor of the Virgin Queen. The first settlement on Roanoke Island in 1585, led by Ralph Lane, turned hostile due to resource shortages, culminating in the colonists' return to England with Francis Drake. A second attempt in 1587, led by John White, faced even graver challenges. Lack of food, unfriendly indigenous people, and White's delayed return led to Roanoke earning the infamous title of the Lost Colony. Amid these struggles, the threat of Spanish retaliation loomed large. Spain, stung by English privateering, assembled a formidable armada in 1588 for an invasion, but Drake's fiery tactics and a fortuitous storm crippled the Spanish fleet. In 1603, Elizabeth I passed away, and James VI of Scotland ascended to become James I of England. With the Spanish menace diminished, fresh plans for colonization took shape. In 1606, the London Company and the Plymouth Company received charters from King James I for separate North American colonies. The Plymouth Company founded Popham Colony in Maine in 1607, but it faltered quickly. The Virginia Company's Jamestown, established the same year, endured a perilous start but emerged as the first permanent English colony. Jamestown faced dire challenges, losing 80% of its population in a few months. Captain John Smith's pragmatic leadership saved the day, emphasizing the principle, "He who does not work shall not eat." Smith's departure in 1609 led to the starving time, with the colony resorting to cannibalism. Just as hope waned, the arrival of John Rolfe, Thomas Gates, and Lord de la Warr in 1610 rejuvenated Jamestown. Rolfe's introduction of a profitable tobacco crop transformed the colony's fortunes, drawing more settlers from England. The success, however, necessitated expansive lands and led to the removal of the Powhatan tribe. In 1619, the House of Burgesses convened, marking an early semblance of democracy in the New World. Jamestown's triumph inspired the founding of Plymouth Colony in 1620 by Puritan separatists seeking religious freedom. While Jamestown would fade into obscurity, Plymouth's myth endured, shaping the foundational narrative of the United States. As Jamestown flourished, the complex tapestry of colonial history wove in more fascinating incidents. In 1619, a remarkable event unfolded: the arrival of the first African slaves in Jamestown. Initially treated as indentured servants, these individuals would later become subjects of institutionalized slavery, marking a tragic turn in American history. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, events in England spurred further developments. In 1620, the Pilgrims, seeking religious freedom, set sail aboard the Mayflower and landed at Plymouth Rock. Their initial encounters with the indigenous Wampanoag people led to a critical alliance with the Native American chief, Massasoit. This cooperation played a pivotal role in the survival of the Plymouth colony during its early years. Back in Jamestown, tobacco emerged as the economic backbone, but its cultivation demanded a substantial workforce. Indentured servitude initially met this demand, but complications led to the introduction of slavery. The first recorded African arrival in 1619 was just the prelude to an institution that would profoundly shape the American South for centuries. As the 17th century progressed, tensions grew between the English settlers and Native American tribes. The Powhatan Confederacy, once essential to Jamestown's survival, became embroiled in conflicts, leading to the devastating Powhatan Uprising of 1622. The brutal event left hundreds of settlers dead and intensified hostilities between the two communities. Simultaneously, New England witnessed its own conflicts, such as the Pequot War in 1637. The struggle for resources and land escalated, causing violence and displacement. The events set the stage for the expansion of English settlements, but also for the tragic displacement and dispossession of Native American communities. The 17th century also saw the emergence of Maryland, founded in 1634 as a haven for Catholics by Lord Baltimore. The colony faced challenges, including religious tensions and economic struggles, but it thrived as a haven for religious diversity. In 1676, Virginia experienced Bacon's Rebellion, a violent uprising led by Nathaniel Bacon against Governor William Berkeley. The rebellion, rooted in discontent over economic disparities and Native American policies, highlighted the social tensions within the colony. As the colonies grew, so did their aspirations for autonomy. In 1681, William Penn founded Pennsylvania as a haven for Quakers, envisioning a society based on religious tolerance. Pennsylvania flourished as a diverse and prosperous colony. The late 17th century also witnessed the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts, a dark chapter in American history. The paranoia and hysteria surrounding accusations of witchcraft revealed the fragility of societal norms and the consequences of fear. In 1707, the Acts of Union unified England and Scotland into Great Britain, reshaping the geopolitical landscape and influencing colonial policies. This period set the stage for the 18th century transformations that would eventually lead to the American Revolution. As the 17th century drew to a close, the American colonies stood at the crossroads of a complex history, with each settlement contributing to the evolving narrative that would shape the United States.